first thing we need to talk about is the freaking Glenn debate is back. The Glenn debate. This time, from Andrew Lincoln himself. So I have the full quote here, right? This popped off. This was on Reddit. This was everywhere. 8.3 million views. Now, I'm gonna say it right now. I'm sorry, Andrew Lincoln. I disagree with you to the nth degree. And I think, like, Glenn's death is something that was massively required in Season 9, Season 10, and Season 11. The Pike scene was nowhere near what it was in the comic book. It just wasn't. And I think, literally, the rest of the show suffered because they were always, like, if Season 8 was a bit too trigger-happy with, like, Carl, obviously, then after Season 8, they were too afraid of losing anyone, right? Because that's when Andrew Lincoln said he's going to leave. That's when Denai Guerrero said that she's going to leave. Jesus, Tom Payne, said that, like, I'm not getting enough roles. I'm not getting enough stuff to do, so kill me off. So he left, and literally everyone started leaving, and it was really, really bad. But basically, the full quote that he said is, let's zoom in. Even Lincoln wonders if it was a step too far for audiences. I do still think Glenn's death might have been when we over-egged the omelet, he tells Empire in a brand new interview, looking back over his years on the show. Maybe it was lingering too much. It was, because they made it a season finale. They made it a season finale, and then big surprise, they dragged out, like, the biggest reveal over the course of a year, and obviously Andrew Lincoln filming the scene. I mean, look at his face. Look at Andrew Lincoln's face in that scene. I think, like, subconsciously, the dude is actually traumatized, even though he was filming a fictional scene. Among the most intense nights of shooting I've ever been a part of. I mean, yeah. Look at his face. Look at his face. Extraordinary monologue on his first day of work, and everyone was on their knees and weeping when they weren't on camera. Morgan came over and went, is this normal? I went, yeah, everyone just keeps going. It was an extraordinary night. Yeah, like, I disagree with this to my absolute core. And I think this type of thinking is what eventually, like, basically made me lose interest in the entire Walking Dead IP. At this point. Maybe it's gonna change, maybe not. We'll see. This has been the case for every single Walking Dead show ever since basically this point, because the same thing happens with Fear, right? They lost, like, the one character that was actually extremely interesting. Well, they lost a couple, right? I'm not gonna get into spoilers because that's, like, a different thing, but they lost a few characters that people were interested in. Then everyone stopped watching the show, and then they brought all the characters back, like, literally resurrected them, and no one liked it. With Fear the Walking Dead, I can confidently say no one liked it, because I genuinely think, like, an overwhelming majority of people hated it. It's not like with The Walking Dead, some people like Season 9, 10, 11. I think with Fear, it's like a overwhelming majority. With Season 9, 10, 11, some people still enjoy it. Like, Season 9, in broad strokes, I think is okay. But, I still think that it just never had that flair that it had previously. Because the core tenets of The Walking Dead was always that, like, everyone's in danger, including Rick. And, I mean, we saw that, right? So, I don't know. And also, I remember, like, Season 7. This was the whole, has violence gone too far? And I still don't think that it... like, I genuinely think most people who complained about the violence in the Season 7 premiere had never seen an episode of The Walking Dead. I genuinely think so. Because the thing that people say is, like... Noah's death, for example, right? To me, Noah's death is probably the scariest thing that has actually happened in The Walking Dead. Like, Noah's death is so visceral, and it's so up close and personal. It's horrifying. It's insane. Lori is probably a close second. Talking about the TV show, obviously. Lori and Noah are two deaths that I genuinely think are, like, scooting the line of what could even air on television. Not for me personally, because it's still fiction, right? But just purely in terms of what could actually air. Glenn, though, people say that the thing that, like, set it apart from Noah and Lori was the fact that it was, like, a person doing it, right? Like, it was Negan. What's the word? Reveling in, like, the whole thing, right? Like, he's going on his whole monologue, and he's beating them up, and then, like, oh, wait, but there's more, and then he goes in for another one, right? Personally, there is no distinction in my brain between a dude doing it and like a dozen walkers ripping a person apart. And Laurie's was obviously even more horrifying because there was a freaking kid involved. You know, 2 kids, actually. So I never agreed with that. I think this outcry was from people who had never seen The Walking Dead. That's what I still think. Because looking at the numbers, there was a abnormal spike in viewers. Because I think a lot of normies wanted to check out what all the hype is about, and they tuned into like the most brutal episode, and well, they kind of got what they expected, I suppose. I don't think it was too bad. I can see Andrew Lincoln saying that like the way they lingered on it could have like made it hit a bit harder, because like in terms of Andrew Lincoln's character Rick as well, right? Like the whole they go on that road trip, and Rick is constantly in that pit of despair. It's really, really bad. And I think another part on top of this is that most of Season 7 is that wallowing in misery instead of what it was in the book, right? I disagree with all of this. I disagree with absolutely all of this, and I think the thing that people... I think a lot of people have forgotten that Negan is basically a horrible dude. I genuinely think so. Like, watching people talk about Negan now, it seems like people, maybe they're not excusing what he has done, but it seems like a lot of people are like willfully forgetting who he was, and they're like actually giving him a pass. Because Negan in the comic, he's endearing, but you never forget that he's a horrible person. Like, he's a broken man, but he's horrible. And in the TV show, they've tried scooting it under the rug. Like, there's a reason why in the retrospective I keep memeing about the fact that, like, characters pop up around him. Kids especially. Like, that's the thing they love. With Carl, oh, I'm sorry, Carl, I didn't realize I was hurting you. And then there's, obviously Judith is next, right? And then there's the random kid that pops up in Season 10. And then in Dead City, also the girl. That's, like, the thing they keep doing. He's so bad. And they just keep trying to, like, make him a good guy. And I hate it. I hate it. I wish they kept him a bad guy, and I wish they... Not necessarily even a bad guy, but just made him, like, a bit more ambiguous. Because I think they were on the right track with him, like, in the prison cell and him having that entire breakdown and stuff. But the rest was kind of mid. It was kind of mid. That was a good line. But yeah. It's surprising to me how many people still agree with this, though. Like, it was the last episode I watched. I don't know. I still think they should have split up the death, though. I still think one of them should have been in the finale, and the other one should have been in the premiere. Because I think that's another thing that left people, like, with a sour taste in their mouth. Because there was that, like, big explosion at the end of Season 6, and then you waited, and then, like, the whole thing climaxed in Season 7. I think if we had one death in the finale, and people were already expecting, like, the worst, and they went into Season 7, and it continued, I think that would have also actually lessened the blow. And one thing that, like, I still don't understand why they did that, is, they skipped over the entire, like, aftermath of the lineup. Because in the comic, there was, like, that very somber thing where they all just try to hold each other after meeting Negan. Like, it's horrible. They're just on the road, and, like, the sun is finally shining, but it's so bad. It's horrible. And the show was just like, nah, we're gonna go to the kingdom. I'm gonna die on this hill. If we ever get a, like, a new adaptation of The Walking Dead, like a animated one, we need to keep it comic book word for word. Because the Negan scene is perfect. And Glenn had to go, because Glenn was the heart of what made, like, the Alexandria group slightly upbeat. Abraham was like their strength, which also made sense, but Glenn had to die there. He just had to. Absolutely. And Maggie's character, if her character also wasn't ruined in the TV show, and she was, as she was in the book, you know, later leading the entire community, and all the Negan stuff that happens there, well, that would have also been very rewarding, but unfortunately now they're in New York, which is sad. Give it a couple of years. We'll get a Walking Dead anime.